Max B's original 75-year prison sentence went down to 20 after he was able to plead guilty to aggravated manslaughter. For years, the name Max B floated through hip-hop like a ghost, spoken about in reverence, shouted out in songs, whispered about in conversations between fans who remembered his unmistakable wave, his melodic drawl, and his confidence that seemed to glide over every beat he touched. His absence was a wound that the culture felt but could never quite close. While others went on to chart-topping fame and endless social media buzz, Max B was living through something very different. Time, solitude, and the slow crawl of years behind cold bars. For a long time, it seemed that the man who once promised to change the sound of Harlem rap might never see the light of day again. 75 years is not a number anyone expects to walk away from. When Max B, real name Charlie Wingate, was convicted in connection to a robbery gone wrong, the story turned tragic almost instantly. The same man who had once filled mixtapes with life, luxury, and swagger suddenly found himself silenced. Yet from the very start, there was always a stubborn hope surrounding him. The streets believed in his innocence, or at least in his redemption. His peers, especially French Montana, carried his name in interviews, verses, and ad-libs. Free Max B became a movement, a mantra, a reminder that some spirits refused to stay buried. Years later, after countless appeals and legal negotiations, that impossible 75-year sentence began to shrink. The manslaughter plea that cut it to 20 was more than a legal victory. It was a crack of light in a wall that had seemed unbreakable. And on a quiet Sunday, November 9th, that light finally burst open. Footage began circulating on social media of Max B stepping back into the world, greeted by the people who had waited for him the longest: friends, family, and loved ones. His smile was tired but wide, the kind that comes from surviving what most people couldn't. For a moment, the internet froze, united in a rare instance of pure joy. The clip of Max hugging French Montana spread fast, a symbol of both reunion and rebirth. Their embrace wasn't just about friendship. It was about time lost and faith rewarded. French had always been loud about his love and loyalty for Max. The two had built something real back in the late 2000s with their Coke Wave projects. A raw, melodic, and sometimes chaotic blend of street rap and hazy luxury that would go on to influence an entire generation of artists. When French posted that short caption, "Can't make this up. My brother really came home on my B-day. Hamdulillah walked it down. No more free you." You could feel the gratitude behind every word. For him, it wasn't just another viral moment. It was the return of a friend, a brother, a creative partner who had been gone too long. For Max B, the world he walked back into was not the same one he left. Hip-hop had evolved beyond recognition. New stars had risen, trends had changed, and the internet had reshaped how fame worked. But for the people who remembered him, his legend never faded. They remembered his swagger, his melodic flow that came before the current wave of melodic trap rappers, and his ability to sound effortless on the mic. His influence stretched far beyond his discography. Artists like Wiz Khalifa, Kanye West, and AHAP mob members have all credited Max as an innovator, a man who turned singing and rapping into something seamless long before it became mainstream. So when he finally stepped out, fans weren't just celebrating a release, they were celebrating a return to unfinished work. Everyone wanted to know whether Max would dive back into music right away or take time to breathe, to live, to adjust. 20 years is a lifetime when you've been confined. The smell of fresh air, the rhythm of city noise, the feeling of walking without shackles. Those small freedoms mean more than any chart position. Max B himself seemed to understand that better than anyone. In his first few conversations after getting out, his tone was different. Older, calmer, but still sharp. "Listen, Jim said a bunch of hard saint about me. So we all say hard saint about each other, okay?" he said when asked about his longtime feud with Jim Jones. "Jim done wished me dead. All type of saint. It's all good. Listen, man. It's love, man. I want to start over. I'm a new man. I'm a married man. I got 4 kids. Like, I'm on a whole different time right now. I'm out here to get my money and ride out the sunset with this saint. It's in there for me, though. So that's the goal. At the end of the day, we all grow. We overcome, man. We all got responsibilities. It's time to elevate. Time to build. It's time to get ready to pass this down to the young man. the young man's world. That statement hit differently. Max B wasn't speaking like someone chasing clout or drama. He was speaking like a man who had seen too much of life and death, a man who had lost time but gained perspective. For those who remember the tension between him and Jim Jones, this olive branch was a moment of growth. Their feud had once torn Harlem apart, spilling into interviews, songs, and street rumors. Bird Gang, Stack Bundles, The Diplomats, all names tied into that complex web of alliances and betrayals that made the mid-2000s Harlem scene so electric and dangerous. Now, decades later, Max wanted peace. That alone said a lot about how deeply prison had changed him. Inside, Max B had to learn patience the hard way. Prison isn't kind to men with dreams, and yet he managed to keep his creativity alive. He recorded verses over prison phone calls, stayed in touch with producers, and continued to inspire through letters and limited interviews. Some fans still remember the strange excitement of hearing a muffled Max B verse leak online, his voice distant but unmistakable. Even behind bars, his charisma couldn't be contained. That endurance is what made his freedom feel so deserved. He never stopped believing in his eventual release, even when the odds looked impossible. French Montana's loyalty played a big role in keeping Max's name alive. Over the years, he would mention Max in almost every project, sometimes even using old vocals and new songs to remind the world that the wave was still out there somewhere. When French started rising to international stardom, performing with Drake and racking up hits, he always made sure Max B's name was present. It was his way of paying homage to the man who had been there at the start, when neither of them had much besides a dream and a mixtape hustle. The rap world has always been fascinated with stories of redemption, but Max's stands apart because it feels personal. His story isn't just about surviving prison. It's about reclaiming identity after losing everything. The idea of the wave that he popularized was never just a musical style. It was a philosophy about movement, confidence, and resilience. In interviews before his incarceration, Max often described his energy as fluid, unbreakable, like water. Even when life boxed him in, he found a way to flow. That metaphor now feels prophetic. As he steps into this new chapter, the question isn't whether Max B can make a comeback, it's what kind of comeback he wants to make. The industry he once knew is different now. Streaming rules, social media dictates perception, and attention spans are shorter than ever. But the core of hip-hop still values authenticity, and Max has that in abundance. The younger generation may only know his name from the Free Max B chants or Kanye's 2016 shout-out on the life of Pablo. But they're curious. They want to understand why older heads speak his name with such respect. In that sense, Max's return is not just a personal victory, it's a historical correction. For too long, his story was frozen in time, defined by court transcripts and mugshots. Now he has a chance to rewrite it in his own words. He can tell the story of the kid from Harlem who rose too fast, got caught in chaos, paid his price, and lived to see another sunrise. There's a quiet power in that kind of narrative, especially in a culture that often glorifies destruction but rarely honors survival.